creative living, utilizing today's technology with the best of the past to bring you innovative ideas and up-to-date information for creative lifestyles in today's active world. With your host, Sheryl Borden.
Welcome to Creative Living today. We're going to learn how to make ruffles and bows with fondant, how to create our own custom upholstered headboard, and show how to incorporate chia seeds for a paleo diet. One of my guests is Laura Hazelden, and she's a self-taught cake decorating wonder. She's going to demonstrate using fondant to make beautiful ruffles and bows for cakes or cupcakes. Another guest is Rebecca Peck, and she represents the Upholstery Studio. This is a company that makes kits for headboards, tuffets, cornices, and other do-it-yourself projects. Rebecca's going to show how to make a beautiful custom upholstered headboard, which will make your bedroom a haven of comfort. She's from Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. And we'll begin the show with Carol Finster, who is a cookbook author and dietitian. And Carol will discuss the paleo diet and what it consists of, as well as the pros and cons. Then she'll demonstrate using chia seeds, which are high in omega-3 and they have a long shelf life. Her company is Savory Palette Incorporated, and she lives in Centennial, Colorado. Carol, it's really nice to have you here. Years ago, when you made your first appearance here, I was so excited to talk to you about the gluten-free diet. And I think about all of the diets that have come along since then, and there's pros and cons of all of them, I realize. But now the one that seems to really be in the forefront is one called a paleo diet.
It is. It's short for Paleolithic, and I get a lot of questions about it too.
I bet you do.
It basically says this, that we should be eating the way Paleolithic man and woman did, which is a long, long time ago. And they basically ate only fresh meats, such as the pork chop, eggs, vegetables, berries, fruits, nuts, mushrooms. Anything that was pure and fresh and unadulterated was acceptable.
And that was growing wherever they
happened to be, exactly. And it also rules out any alcohol or coffee or sugar or any processed foods. And the only oils that are allowed would be olive, coconut, and
avocado oil,
avocado
which is hard to find.
It's hard to find. It's a little expensive too.
I bet.
So that's what the proponents say we should be eating this diet because for our health, and we should live like early man did. The critics, on the other hand, say, wait a minute, you have left out three critical food groups. One is dairy, one is whole grains, which are really important, and the other is legumes and beans. And so any diet that leaves out a whole set of food groups cannot be really the best for you. And after all, we as man have evolved beyond that fairly simplistic diet.
And truly, we can't even think about eating the things that they had then because of all of the technology and the equipment and processing that has taken place.
Exactly. And it can be a challenging diet if you want to adopt it when you are also on some other diet, such as a gluten-free diet, as I am. But the part that probably disturbs me the most and I find hardest is I love whole grains. And so if I wanted to be on a paleo diet, what would I do?
I like dairy foods.
And dairy,
and
you
so that's
would
not allowed either.
No, you would miss the cheeses. And I think beans are especially important for the gluten-free diet because they provide the essential B vitamins that we give up.
The protein.
And the protein when we stop eating fortified wheat products. So anyway.
But it's interesting to read, and I really like knowing the pros and cons.
I do too. I do too. And there's an abundance of food here that you can eat, but it's just that this is what you will eat.
You
won't have all these other foods. So what I thought we could talk about is a way to get seeds into your diet as opposed to whole grains. And that brings us to chia seeds.
Which I had never even heard of cooking with.
No, I know. We think of the little animals at chia at the holidays. Yeah. This is what it looks like in the bag. There are basically two colors. One is a lighter color. Sometimes you'll see that under the name of salba, S-A-L-B-A. It looks like salba to me, but it was sold as chia.
Tiny.
They're tiny. They're very tiny. And this is the darker version. Now, these, in the Mayan language, the word chia, which is spelled C-H-I-A, means strength. And in the Aztec warrior times, they would eat this because it gave them strength and stamina.
For battles or
For
whatever.
battle, yeah. Those are each about 1 tablespoon. 1 tablespoon alone has a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, but also 5 grams of fiber and 3 grams of protein. So that's a lot. That's a lot in one
Would
little
they just
bite.
eat it like that? Would they put it in water?
Well, I don't know
or-
that we know. If they ate it in water, or if they used it with water, here's the interesting thing. It absorbs 9 to 10 times its own weight in water. So you could get by with eating not very much as long as you drank
Would be
water
very
because
filling.
it swells up. And I wanted to show you something that you can make with chia called the chia pudding.
And that's a new one for me
It's
too.
a new
That's
one.
what this is.
That's what that is. So it is so simple to make. I've already put the chia seeds in a wide mouth jar. I'm sure
Is that about a tablespoon?
It's a tablespoon, Paleo man did not have
Probably
wide
didn't
mouth jars. Okay. He probably also didn't have the
Measuring
cup. No. This is almond milk, which is allowed on the diet because, even though it's a highly processed food, allowed
The
because
nuts,
it's
is it?
nuts. Right. And I like using these little wide mouth jars because all you have to do, you can eat right out of them too.
Oh, yeah.
And
They're
it's
like
great.
a little mini blender.
They're like
aren't
little
they?
mini blenders, and I'm shaking it. Now, what's happening right away is these seeds are starting to soak up the milk.
You said 9 to 10 times.
Yeah,
Wow.
9 to 10 times. So I'm just shaking it to make sure the seeds get distributed because those little seeds like each other and they clump up together. And I'm sure early man did not have agave nectar, but they probably would have used honey. We're using agave just because if you're putting cold honey into cold milk, let me add some vinegar, some vanilla too. It'll clump up. So I used agave, but if you wanted to heat it, you could heat this up and make it hot too. So a little bit of flavoring makes it taste good. And then you shake it. And what I like to do is, for about the next couple hours, put it in the refrigerator, because assuming you wanted it cold,
With,
to preserve it
milk
overnight.
in it.
With milk. Every few half hours, so walk by and shake it, because those little chia seeds are absorbing moisture. And within a half hour or so, they will start to thicken this pudding, as I call it.
This reminds me of years ago as a child when we made ice cream.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we would either crank it or I had a guest
Exactly.
that showed rolling the can
Yeah.
back and forth. So it's sort of the same concept.
Same concept. And so leave it overnight. I made one last night, and it can be eaten the next morning for breakfast. If you want it hot, simply heat it. That is just simply poured into a wine glass because it's a little bit pretty. You could put it into a cereal bowl. You could heat it up. You could dress it just like you might dress hot cereal. Cinnamon. Paleo man might not have used cinnamon,
Maybe
but
raisins.
and raisins. You can, it's a healthy food for anyone, no matter what diet you're on, and it's extraordinarily nutritious, and it's not that hard to make, and it's really fairly unprocessed given what we've put into it.
Wow. Well, I've heard of the diet, and I tried to read before you came. I tried to read as much as I could about it, but I still go back to what I learned when I was majoring in home ec. Moderation is the key to everything.
Moderation, moderation, moderation. So this will work on any diet, and just keep in mind that it's high fiber, and so if you're just initially adopting some high fiber foods, you might want to take it easy.
I think it'll be fun to experiment with it anyway.
Oh yeah,
I'd never heard
different
of it.
flavors. I would put chocolate in mine.
I'd put whipped cream on top.
Whipped cream, a little bit of yogurt, and it would be perfect.
Well, great. Well, thank you very much, Carol. This is really interesting.
Thank you.
Rebecca, thank you so much for being here. I've really always admired people who know how to upholster or make slip covers or make beautiful cornice boards or headboards. But to a beginner, it's kind of overwhelming to know what supplies you need, where you get everything. You all have kind of come up with a solution, haven't you?
We have. I think our collections and our kits really make it easy for the first-time upholsterer and furniture builder to make a really great project.
And so talking about the collections, you have several headboard collections. I'll try to show these.
Yeah, we actually have 5. So depending on what shape headboard you want, whether or not you want a border, we've got lots of different choices, and they can all be made to whatever size you need, twin, queen, or king. And in each collection is the DVD that shows you step by step how to do your project, all of the instructions, and even the patterns to cut out your fabric, cut out your wood, your foam, etc.
Gosh, it's hard to decide which is my favorite. I thought I knew, but now I'm
They're
liking
all
all
pretty.
of them. They
Yes.
are, they're all pretty. And then you mentioned a kit. This will tell us how to do it, but you know, depending on where you live, you may not have access to everything that is required for doing a project. So
Right.
you've solved that too.
Yes, instead of going to a bunch of different stores, we also sell the kits that include everything you need to make your headboard.
Which is what we're showing
And
here.
that's, yeah,
And,
so it would be your wood, your foam.
oh, the wood, everything comes
Everything
in it.
is in it. Yes, exactly. Even the screws.
Okay. Well, I think that is especially good for people like me who don't want to have to make several stops to find it. And so really, we're just in charge of our fabric then,
Yeah,
aren't we?
you're in charge of selecting the shape you want and what fabric you want, and the wood is even cut to the shape that you need, so you don't even have to
Great. I
cut the
wouldn't
wood.
know what to do with that either.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a headboard, as we can see back here, and you've partially put it together, but there's a few things you wanted to make us aware of.
Yeah, we just kind of wanted to show you exactly how this gets built. So you've got your wood, it's cut to the
Already
shape.
cut. I like that.
You take your pattern and you trace around it with the marker, and that's where you put your foam.
Oh,
So
okay.
you would apply your foam, put your Dacron on top, staple that in place.
And the foam comes in like in a square, and then we'd cut it to fit the shape.
Actually, the foam is already cut.
Oh, that's even better. Okay. That's
Easy
perfect.
peasy. So then, once you get the foam down in the middle here, you're going to put this fabric on, your
Okay.
center fabric. And you're just going to put that on with a staple gun. Make sure it's nice and tight. Doing
Get
it
right up
backward.
close
Get
to it.
right up
Yeah.
close to that edge. Kind of make sure it's even all the way around.
Keep smoothing
All right,
it.
keep smoothing it out. And then you're going to put on your border. So first you're going to apply your piping.
The cording or piping.
Yeah, so you just staple that into place. And you can do the really big piping as well, if you want a little more dramatic look. Then you're going to put on your border fabric, and you can, if you want, go ahead and pre-gather that.
Oh,
If you have a
that would
gathering
make it more
foot on your
even, I
machine.
guess.
Or you could just do it by hand as you're stapling.
Oh.
This is a little faster, I think.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to staple that on, and you're going to also staple a tack strip on top of that. It just gives it a nice clean edge.
Oh, okay.
Then you're going to put your foam down, your Dacron, staple that both sides, and then you're just going to pull this over and staple that around the back.
And you pull it really tight. That's what gives it that really professional look, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly. And then if you really want to give it the final detail, you can put piping along this back edge as well. It's not on this one, but it's on this one here.
Oh, let's tilt this just a little bit, if we can see it or not. Oh.
So that gives it a nice
So
finished
this is
touch.
exactly what you were making, and then we add the legs.
Then
And
you
this
just
all
put your
comes
legs
with
on.
it in the kit.
All in the kit.
Okay.
The hardest part is picking out the fabric.
Well, yeah, that's true, but there are so many beautiful choices
are.
anymore. And we could make twin, queen, king,
Yes,
all
any
sizes.
size. You could do, if you wanted to do a quilted front on this, you could quilt your fabric before you put it on.
Well, that's a good idea, or it even could be a good way if you had a wall hanging that maybe you were tired of as a hanging, but you might could incorporate it into your
Yeah,
headboard.
exactly. Or maybe you have an old quilt that is not in the best of shape. An old chenille bedspread with the big flower in the
Oh,
middle
wouldn't
would
that
be
be
pretty.
beautiful?
Yes. If you don't want to make the piping, you can use the braid with the flange on it already.
Lots of different ideas. Your creativity can come into play, can't
That's
it?
right.
Well, thank you so much for showing us how easy this really is to do.
No problem. Thank you for having us, Cheryl.
Laura, thank you so much for being here. As I've told you before, I found you on Facebook, and after I saw some of the cakes that you decorated, I just knew I wanted to meet you and have you on the show because you're such a pro, but you said you don't come about it from going to classes. How did you get involved?
No, thank you. I just started making cakes for my children, and then watching shows like the Cake Boss and Ace of Cakes and looking at pictures online, and I thought, hey, I think I can do that. So
And you have 4 children, and
I
so
do.
you've got a lot of practice.
I do.
That's great. Well, did you have all the tools, or did you have to just start from scratch?
I started from scratch. I just started buying a few tools at a time. Started with like the circle cutters and square cutters and small basic designs, and then I just developed over time.
So anybody could do this if they
I
just
think
have
so.
the desire.
I think
That's what I
so.
think's interesting.
I equate playing with fondant to playing with Play-Doh with your children. So it's a lot of fun.
It
It's
tastes
good
a lot
stress
better,
relief.
too.
It does.
Okay. Well, fondant, why do you like to work with fondant?
Well, it's very pliable. It holds its shape. A lot of people, sometimes they can mix it 50-50 with gum paste.
Oh.
But that dries very quickly. So it'll help hold the shape better, but you have to work fast.
Work faster.
So I really enjoy the fondant.
And you can now buy it in lots and lots of colors, but you can also tint it yourself.
Right. I prefer to buy it white and then tint it myself.
Do you?
I feel the colored fondant has a different texture. It's a little softer, so it might not hold the form or the shape that you want.
Okay.
But the
And
white
you've
does.
been, as we've been talking, you've been molding this and playing with
Kneading it, softening
kneading
it
so
up.
that it'll soften up. And you do want it to be at a certain stage before you start rolling it out.
Right, pretty pliable, so you
Okay.
can get it to hold the shape.
And do you need to put down flour or anything to roll it out?
Sometimes you do. Sometimes when you first add the coloring, it's very sticky.
Oh.
So I actually use confectioner's sugar
Oh,
rather than
Not
flour or
flour.
cornstarch.
That would
It just
dry it,
kinda
I
adds
guess,
the-
also too.
just keeps the sweetness
We like that.
level in there. And sometimes I, just depending on how sticky the fondant is. I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe I need any today, but
And it's something you get a feel for. I've heard people say you just know when it's ready
Right.
to work with it.
right. And then
And how thick? Now, is this whole thing covered with fondant?
no, I
This is a
use. I
buttercream
normally
type?
cover my cakes in buttercream.
Okay.
And then I just add fondant decorations.
Do people ever complain that they either don't like the taste of it, or it's too hard, or?
The fondant? I think a lot of people prefer buttercream over fondant, so that's why I just use
Just
it
do the
as
decoration.
accents. But
I see.
I've had quite a few people say that they actually enjoy the fondant. So
Well, when it's sweet, that would be fine with me. So first you're going to show how to make these little
ruffles.
ruffles.
And then
okay?
you can, for a basic ruffle, you can use a circle cutter. If you want it a little bit more frilly, you can use a flower cutter or almost any shape that you wanted. So you just cut out your circles.
And it's about, what is that, a 1/16 of an inch? I don't know, it's hard to tell, but you want it pretty
you're-
thin.
Right. I just use the smallest ring on my rolling pin.
Got it. And now when you work with fondant, do you make all of your decorations ahead of time and let them dry? Or do you go ahead and start
It depends on
decorating?
what it is. Like the ruffles, it has to be pliable because it will kind of crack when it starts to dry out if you try
Move
to
it much?
yeah.
I see.
But for the ruffles, you just take your circle and I fold them in half and then a half again. And then you just add a little bit of water.
That's kind of like glue.
Right. It
so to speak.
Kinda, and then you just oops, the cake's a little
Push it
soft.
into
place,
the...
right. Place it on.
and the
your
buttercream
cake.
makes it easy to put those in, and they'll stay where you want them.
That's correct. And sometimes I try to switch the position of it.
So you'll just go ahead and finish putting these little ruffles all the way around the
Right.
cake.
Right.
And what other things do you like to do sometimes?
Sometimes you can, change the colors, and you can have different colors going all the way up the cake, just different shades of purple, or you can do primary. I mean, sky's the limit. You
And
can
I guess you
alternate
could
them.
also cover the whole thing in the ruffles. We're
Right.
going to do some bows on it too.
Right.
Okay.
That is correct.
And you roll them out the same way?
I do for the strips for the bows.
You can get by with just a lot of baking tools that a person already has on hand.
That's right. Sometimes I do get creative in the kitchen, and I'm looking at them like, what makes can make that shape.
Pizza cutter, or
Right, or sometimes bowls, if I'm looking for a certain concave shape, and then I'll put the fondant in there and let it dry so that it'll give me
forms.
the form
Oh, good
that
idea.
I want.
Okay, so
You just
now
have
we've
to
got
get
ruffles,
creative.
and now we're making bows.
Right.
And you don't ever throw this away. You just keep kneading it
I
for the
knead
next
it.
project.
I
Can you
co-
save it, like in the refrigerator or something?
I don't put it in the refrigerator. I just cover it in saran wrap and then place it in an airtight container until the next time. You
Yeah.
never know when you may
And
need
you
that color again.
You do this 2 or 3 a week, so those of us who might not do as many could be sure it's covered carefully. Okay, so you've just cut about an inch wide strip and
Right.
about, what, 5 inches long?
It can really be however long you would
Want
like
it.
it to be. It just depends on the size of the bow that you want. So you just cut your strips, and then I normally put a little bit of water on each end.
Again, to cause
Right.
it to stick together.
A lot of times they show using tissue paper to hold the shape. I don't do that. I just put it together, and then I crimp it at the bottom.
Like a
I
real
feel-
fabric bow, a
Right,
ribbon bow.
I really feel like it gives you that natural fabric look when you do that. And then I just set them up on their side, shape it how I want it, and let it dry like that.
Okay, so let it dry pretty, well, an hour or two? How long would it take?
It just depends. Sometimes maybe 3 or 4 hours.
So you can go on and work on your other cakes while
That's
those
right,
are
or other
sitting.
decorations. I always prepare these ahead of time.
And so how do we attach these
Okay.
then?
I like to put,
This is the buttercream icing.
right, this is buttercream icing, and I put a big blob. In the middle.
That's a technical term.
That is. And then,
And these are ones you've made up ahead of time.
right, I made these last night, so they had time to dry overnight. And then I just put them in the blob.
Oh, so we don't even need to add the water now because the
No,
icing is going to
right.
hold them.
And I like to cut my bows, if you can see here, on a diagonal.
angle.
So that way when you place them together, they
I
fit,
hadn't noticed
they
that.
fit better. I just learned that over time.
Okay.
It's just what I
Practice
prefer
makes
to
perfect.
do. So I put, across from each other to make like a little square. And then you alternate up, side,
Oh,
for the bottom row.
Uh-huh.
And then put those there like that.
I would have not thought of that.
It gives it
That's
a,
so pretty
a fuller
already.
look.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may just need to add a little bit more buttercream. And then, since those are
Down,
on the
these are
side,
going to be up.
right, these are going to be up.
I see.
Kind of alternate them like that. And sometimes you just kind of have to play with it.
Kind of work them in,
Right.
move some of the ones.
That's correct. Oh, that's one I just made.
Oh, I wondered why you made some little bitty ones. That's going to be the top of the bow.
Right. They're like little fillers
Uh-huh.
to give it that that completed look. I think I need just a little bit more buttercream.
Well, you do make this look so easy. Very nice.
And there you've got
And a cake this
your
size,
bow.
what would you say it serves?
It
8
serves
or-
about 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Uh-huh. Well, I appreciate you showing us how simple this really is to
It
do.
really is simple. I think anybody can do it.
Well, it's a beautiful creation. Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Laura. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Next time on Creative Living, we'll learn about the National Diabetes Prevention Program, show how to make some exciting projects with stamps, and demonstrate cooking turkey. One of my next guests will discuss the CDC-led National Diabetes Prevention Program. This is designed to bring evidence-based lifestyle change programs for preventing type 2 diabetes. Another guest is going to show some of the new clear polymer stamps that are on the market. These are fun to use, they're easy to clean, and very versatile once you know a few basic techniques. And finally, another guest on the next show is a turkey talk line expert, and she'll demonstrate recipe ideas for each season of the year. She'll also tell us how to save money by going to their website for coupons and promotions and cost savings. All of these topics will be featured on the next Creative Living show. And if you ever have comments or suggestions or ideas for shows, you can email me at sheryl.borden@enmu.edu. I'd also like to ask you to become a fan of Creative Living on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com and in the search window type in Creative Living with Sheryl Borden. Thanks so much, and I hope you'll plan to join me next time for Creative Living.
We are very pleased to offer a new booklet that accompanies this series of Creative Living. This booklet is titled the 6600 Series, and it features a wonderful collection of ideas and information, and it's available free of charge on our website. Posted as a PDF file, you can simply download the entire booklet, or just the segments you're most interested in. As with all of the Creative Living booklets, you'll find information on foods and nutrition, clothing and fashion, health and beauty, home decorating, and much more. For your copy of this booklet, go to our website at KENW.org and then click on Creative Living. Scroll down to the booklet section and you can click on this booklet or any of the other booklets we have available online. Once again, just go to KENW.org, click on Creative Living, and download the booklet titled the 6600 Series. We also want to encourage you to sign up for our free e-newsletter. Just click on the Sign Up Now button and input your email address. That's all there is to it. You'll enjoy reading an up-to-date newsletter filled with interesting topics and information. Thank you.